Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of The Objectivity Factor. So, I know that I said that I was going to do a video on the minimum wage debate a little while ago, but in light of all the events that have been going on in Ferguson, Missouri the last few days, I think that I'm going to skip that and just dive headfirst into this. This is just such a tragedy, and it has gotten completely out of hand. Just a warning for everyone: this is not going to be a politically correct video. I will be using probably some offensive language, and you might not see my viewpoint. That's okay. I don't mind if you don't have to agree with me. This is just, I'm hoping to be able to at least look at both sides of the argument here. And I'm sorry if I offend anyone. That is not my intention. Another forewarning: I will be saying "quote unquote" black a lot, just simply because saying African American and trying to be politically correct so as not to offend anyone. Saying African American 100 times in about 15 minutes gets a little tedious. So I would just say that this is not going to be politically correct. So if you haven't seen what's been going on in Ferguson, there was a teenager by the name of Michael Brown who was shot and killed by a police officer in Ferguson, Missouri. Um, that's pretty much the gist of it. When I first heard about it, I didn't know what was going on. I thought it was just another cop shot a kid thing, and I didn't know what had happened. So I didn't really read too much into it. I heard about it, I believe, the day after, like in the morning after it had happened, and it was just one of those things where I didn't even look at it. I was just There's so much bad publicity for the police department that I don't hardly read any of them anymore. I just look at the blips on my phone or online or what have you, and I just scroll down if it doesn't look too appealing. And then I was on break at work one day, and they had it on TV, so I was like, okay, well, maybe this is actually worth looking into. So I looked into it, and to find out that it was more than just cop shot a kid. When you get down to the fundamentals of it, it's white guy shot a black guy. Again, that's not politically correct, but the gist of it is essentially that, and that's what got a lot of people upset. It wasn't just the fact that it was a cop who shot a kid; it was the fact that it was a white cop who shot a black kid. And this is the deep South we're talking about here. This is a suburb that's probably about 20 minutes outside of St. Louis, about 10 miles, and you can't really get more southern than that. And there is a lot of racism out there, and there is a lot of racially inflicted hatred that is out there, not just against whites versus blacks, but against just whites versus pretty much anybody. I mean, it's been that way since the civil rights movement, not just in Missouri, but all over the country, not just in the South either. And it's that the fact that it was this cop who shot this kid, that just got a few people going, and then to see that it was a white cop who shot a black kid, that got more people infuriated, and it's gotten more and more out of hand as the days have gone on. I know the first day it was cop shot a kid, okay, and then the second day it was the vigil, and all these people came together, the community came together to show their support to the family of Michael Brown, and to show them that they were not alone in this. That they were going to fight for justice for Michael Brown, which me personally, I applaud that. To go out, to have the bravery to go out and say we will fight for you. I mean, I can only imagine how that felt for the family. So they hold this vigil the following night after he was shot, and the police responded in just brutal force. I mean, it was insane just to see not only the number of cops that were out here when all these people were trying to do was hold a vigil, but to see all these cops out here, and they had, I don't know, at least a dozen canine units. I mean, there were police holding dogs on leashes. I mean, there was one video, or not a video, but a photo that I saw it looked like the cop was trying to hold the dog back because the dog was trying to attack some poor innocent kid. I mean, it looked like it was a kid. There was a whole group of people, but I mean, there were kids involved. And this cop was holding this dog back. And somebody actually took that picture and put it in a side-by-side next to another picture from the 60s, from during the civil rights movement, of white cops mistreating the black community and people of African American descent. And it's kind of like, It's the exact same photo, only in color now and in modern times. And it's kind of frightening, to be honest with you. And, it's just when the media got a hold of this story, a lot of them kind of twisted it around. I know that the initial reports said that he was shot in the back because he was with a friend and say, no, the cop just shot him in the back. He shot him in the back. He said, don't shoot, hands up. And he just unloaded on the guy. I mean, that's not a direct quote, but that's the gist of what the guy said. And, so that got so many more people up in arms against this. And it's like the cops responded in force to a vigil, so the community responded with more force, not than the cops, but with more force than they had at the vigil on the third day. And then on the fourth day, the cops, I swear to God, from the second day, it was just a bunch of cops. On the third day, or the fourth day, whenever it was that was going on, the next time the police responded, I thought that the National Guard had already been called out. I mean, these cops are in fucking riot gear. They have semi-automatic weapons. They have automatic rifles. They've got shotguns on their backs. They've got gas masks. They've got tear gas. They've got flashbangs. They've got stun grenades. You'd think that the military got called out simply because the community is pissed off that a kid was killed by a cop. I mean, I don't know about you. If my kid was killed by a cop, I'd be pretty pissed off too. I'd be pissed off if my kid was killed by anybody. But the fact that it was a cop that killed him doesn't help matters. And the fact that it was a white cop just further inflames the situation. And, so then now the community and the people have seen, look at all these cops that are coming at us with all this riot gear. So then it just escalates from that. Now the community, the next time that they go out and protest, there's riots on the street, there's looting, they're vandalizing, they're burning buildings down, they're taunting the cops, they're pushing the cops around. And then so the police, in response to that, get even more aggressive. And it just tiers one on top of another. And you just keep on piling all this aggression from both sides. And eventually it's going to end up in a war. I honestly think that if this does not stop soon, that's what's going to happen. The police are going to respond in such force that the civilians are going to feel like they are so threatened that their lives are in so much danger because the National Guard have been called out. And they are doing house-by-house searches, which is illegal. That is against the Constitution. So if they're already starting to do that, I can only imagine what's going to happen next when these citizens get a hold of firearms. And on that note, firearm sales have increased a lot. I don't know the exact percentage. I can't say exponentially without some sort of, actual backup to back up that claim. But it has happened. And, I've read articles that have talked about how the gun sales have gone up, not just in Missouri, but all across the country. I'm worried about Missouri specifically. I mean, gun sales have increased in the country. They've been increasing for 10 years. But the fact that in the last week, the gun sales have gone up enough for them to need to write an article about the fact that gun sales have gone up, that's kind of terrifying to me. So now all it's going to take is one civilian, one person at a protest to shoot a cop. Whether they kill the cop or whether the cop survives because they're in freaking riot gear and they've got bulletproof vests and flak jackets and all kinds of shit, it's not going to matter whether the cop lives or dies. Because these trigger-happy jack-offs are just going to start unloading on innocent civilians. And it's going to be war. And it's terrifying. I'm actually scared. And I don't know what's going to happen. And all I know is that it's not going to take much because both sides are just on edge so much because of the antagonism they're receiving from the other side that I don't know. I don't even know what to do. The United States District Attorney is going out there either today or sometime in the next day or two, and we'll see what happens. So, there's that. Now, let's look at this objectively, as best we can. I know it's hard. It's hard for me sometimes to not look at it as the police state is just pushing the people around. But just bear with me on this, and let's try to look at this objectively. I'm going to start out from the cop's perspective. Not the individual cop, but from the police perspective. There was video proof that Michael Brown had robbed a convenience store. Now this video hadn't been released until I want to say maybe about 5 or 6 days. They had already named the officer's name. So it was after that had happened that this video and these still photos came out and into the press. At the time, they had authorized a second autopsy, which I actually just looked it up about the autopsy. I'll go into that here in a minute. But the gist of this whole situation from the cop's perspective is that he was in pursuit of a robbery suspect, and the the cop claims that Mike Brown had quote unquote bum rushed him. That's a phrase that a lot of people are using, bum rushing. So that's what I'll just use that phrase, which was completely different from what the original witness had said. The guy that was with Mike Brown when he was shot had said. He said the cop shot him in the back, and the cop said no, he was bum rushing me, so I shot him to defend myself. So from the cop's perspective, and I've just read the autopsy report. From the cop's perspective, this could have been justified because, according to the autopsy report, now this was the second autopsy report. The preliminary one, I don't even know if it's been released yet, which is kind of fishy to me. But in the second autopsy report, and they've also done, they're going to do a third one. Why you need 3 autopsies on this kid is beyond me. But anyway, on the report, it said that there were 3 or 4 bullet wounds in his arm where he was shot in his right arm, and then 2 in his head. One that went in through his eye and ricocheted out through his jaw, and then another one through the top of his head. And the key indicator from the autopsy report says that because of specifically the bullet wound in the top of the head makes it seem like he was bent over at the time of the shooting. And, that is corroborated by the entry wound. Now, according to the guy that did the autopsy, whose name I can't remember, I just remember reading that he does a show on HBO called Autopsy. But in his report, he states that this could have been the fact that he was giving up and surrendering, or that he was in the process of already falling down from have been shot in the eye. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure that if somebody gets shot in the eyeball and it ricochets around in their brain, whether it hits the brainstem or not, you're probably going to go down. And this was a big dude, And so whether he was in the process of falling down or whether he was trying to tackle the cop in a last-ditch effort to gain control of the gun, we don't know. We can only speculate. Even in the autopsy report, it says we can only speculate as to what that bullet wound could mean. It could mean that he was giving up. It could mean that he was on his way to the ground, or it could mean that he was trying to bum rush the cop. So, we don't know. We still don't know. But the autopsy report does confirm that he was shot front to back, which means that he had to have been facing the officer. And the way that the coroner said that the bullet wounds in his arm and his right side show that he could have been grappling for the officer's weapon. Now, if somebody's trying to take my gun away from me, I'm going to pull the trigger as many times and as quickly as I can to get this guy off me. So, and the bullet wounds do seem to indicate that he was trying to get the gun away from the officer. So from the officer's perspective, this could be justified self-defense. I'm not saying that it is. I'm not saying that it's not. I'm saying that it is a possibility that he did fear for his life and was protecting himself. That is an argument that any good defense attorney is going to make. And I don't even have a law degree, and I know that. So, again, not saying that this is the truth. This is just all the information that we have so far. So now let's get a different angle on this. We've seen the from the cop's point of view that this could be legitimate, that it could be a worthy case for a self-defense. But from a different angle, why did it take so long for them to release the officer's name? I mean, I understand that investigations take a while. They do. I mean, any investigation, not just a shooting, is going to take a while. But this is an officer-involved shooting. This isn't some dudes shot some other dude and you have to figure out who shot the guy. You know who shot the guy. He has to file paperwork saying that he has discharged his weapon, saying that he was in pursuit of a robbery suspect, that he had responded to a call, that he had killed somebody. There's just so much from the officer that said that he did it. That, well, why didn't they come out with his name? Now, again, I can also understand that they feared for his safety, and he could have feared for his own safety, because even if this is ruled as self-defense and the officer wins this case, there's still a victim, and it's going to hurt, and a lot of people are going to be upset about it. But so I can understand wanting to protect the officer and doing a relocation or witness protection, whatever you want to call it. And I understand that takes time. But seriously, 4 or even 5 days, that's how long this took. And I think it's kind of ironic that after, the fourth day, we'll say the fourth day, Anonymous had posted a video on their YouTube page, on their Facebook, or not their Facebook, their Twitter, and had sent this video to the media, to different media stations, and to the Ferguson Police Department. And this video stated that if the police department did not come forward and release the name of the officer that was involved, that they were going to hack the database and they were going to release the name themselves. And I don't know how long they gave the police to respond. I don't know if it was a day, if it was less than 24 hours. I honestly don't know. All I know is that around 11 o'clock in the morning, the database was hacked by Anonymous. And they released a name of an officer of the Ferguson police who had changed his name on Facebook, had changed his name, had deleted his work history, had made it so that it was more difficult, I won't say impossible, but more difficult to determine who he was, where he lived, and what his work history is. You can only do so much on Facebook. There's still going to be photographs, there's still going to be recent posts, there's going to be tags that you've been tagged in the police department, just wherever. There's a lot of ways to get around that. So Anonymous releases this name. It was the wrong name. Now, a lot of people are like, fucking Anonymous, dumbasses released the wrong name. Honestly, I think that was a tactical decision. Because if they had released the proper name, or if they had released some other name, the result still would have been the same. The police department would have looked at it and said, oh no, now everybody's going to think that this guy did it, whether he did it or not. They're going to think that this guy did it, and he is going to get killed. Somebody's going to find him, somebody's going to figure out where he lives, where he's hiding, and they're going to take action. So, whether the name was right or not, it still did its job. And not long after that, I want to say I think the next day after they had been hacked, that evening, they had made a press release saying that they were going to release the name of the officer that was involved. So within less than 24 hours, they responded saying, okay, well, now that you've got a name, we're going to give you the actual person who did this. We're going to give you that guy's name. And they released it the following morning. This was only a few days ago, if I remember correctly. So I think it's kind of funny that it took an elite hacker group hacking a database and releasing a name, whether it was the right one or not, releasing a name to get the police scared enough to say, oh shit, we need to come forward and actually give the community the guy's name. Because if Anonymous could hack the database and give them the wrong name, I'm pretty sure they could do it again and find the actual person who did it. So there's that. Why did it take so long for the police to give us a name? Why has the first autopsy not been released? At least I don't think it's been released. I personally have not found it. If you find it, awesome. If you want to comment and put it in a link or something, that'd be cool too, so that other people can see it. But I personally have not been able to find it. I found the second autopsy report, and I've also found an article that at the end of it said that they were going to do a third autopsy. Well, why do you need so many freaking autopsies? Really, I can understand wanting a second opinion. But to have three autopsies on one person, that's a little ridiculous. I mean, they really must be trying to prove or disprove something, and that's a little fishy to me. That kind of smells funny. So there's that. What these are all the red flags that are kind of freaking some people out besides me. Um, but on another note, why, aside from the popular argument of racism, why did the police department respond with such force in the beginning? Why were they out in pretty much in the most basic of riot gear because of a vigil? Were they thinking that these people were just going to bomb their headquarters, that they were just going to start rioting right there after the vigil? Oh, I mean, it's who does that? It's like I personally don't understand it. I'm not a cop. I don't know any cops. Maybe know one or two, but through a second person. So I don't have a whole lot of perspective on the police side of things. But it seems a little fishy to me that there's been all this time before they even released the officer's name, that there's so many autopsies, and that the preliminary one hasn't been released. Only the second one has. That seems a little weird too. Why was there so much force involved starting out from the police? That just screams the police state to me. But again, that's just me. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little off topic here. So in retrospect, to look at what's happened from the police perspective, there's so much evidence coming out that's actually starting to corroborate the police officer's side of the story. That I'm not saying that it's true, but it is starting to paint a picture of this could be a justified self-defense act. And I mean, make of it what you will. You don't have to agree with me. I'm not saying that it will be a justified self-defense case. In a few days, they could find new evidence in this third autopsy that's going to completely conflict with the first and second autopsy, and then all hell is going to break loose, and we're just going to have to start all this bullshit over again. And we just have to be patient and wait and see. And it's just, the situation is so inflamed right now that unless both sides, there's people that are now starting, with all this new evidence coming out, go figure, there's all these people that are now starting to not protest, but to support the officer. And they're standing on the other side of the street as the people who are protesting the police and saying, support the officers, support our police, believe in the cause, blah, 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 so on and so forth. And I'm just like, you people are stupid. I understand wanting to support the police. I understand wanting to make a demonstration to support the police. Don't do it on the same frickin' street as your opposition, who have already attacked the police. I mean, are you trying to start something? That's another thing. Maybe somebody is trying to start a whole bunch of shit. Maybe somebody's going to intentionally do something stupid, just so the other side does something stupid back, and then all of a sudden it's war. I don't know. I don't even know what to make of this. But now we've got protesters we'll call them demonstrators, because I wouldn't really say they're protesters. They're just demonstrators. We've got demonstrators for the officer. We've got demonstrators for Mike Brown. And eventually it's going to come to a head, and they're going to clash. And the police are just going to be a third party trying to break up everything, and all hell is going to break loose. And it's wow. Okay. So speaking of, I don't know if you heard the tone that just went off. That was my phone. I apologize. It was a text, but when my phone lit up, I found a notification from CNN on my screen, and that says, a police officer was involved in a shooting in St. Louis. A city fire captain said, 1 person is dead. It has begun. As I'm talking to you right now, shit has already started in St. Louis, which is, like I said, just outside of, well, actually, Ferguson's just outside of St. Louis. It's about a 10-mile drive from St. Louis to Ferguson. So I don't know if this is connected to what's going on in Ferguson. I'm opening up my app right now. I'm going to look at this and see if I can give you some information here really quick. Okay, sorry for that pause. I actually had to go through and read the article, and I didn't want to read it while I was trying to do this video. So, the article, I'm just going to try to summarize here as best I can. St. Louis police shot and killed a young African-American man Tuesday after authorities say he brandished a knife. The shooting took place not far from Ferguson, which I already told you. Quote, the suspect, who right now is described as a 23-year-old African-American, was acting erratically, walking back and forth and up and down the street, St. Louis Police Chief Sam Dodson told reporters. As officers arrived, the suspect turned towards the officers and started to walk towards them, clutching his waistband, then pulled out a knife and told the officers, quote, shoot me now, kill me now, end quote, the chief said. Now, I'm going to stop right there. That is a suicide note, people. If you go to a cop, whether your hands are raised and you say, shoot me now, I'm pretty sure they're going to fucking shoot you. Don't be an idiot. Okay? Your safety, your own safety, is the most important thing that you have. Would you go to a random person in the street and just say, kill me now? No. Did he have suicidal intentions? I don't know. It's a possibility that this guy was on something or whatever. But that's still, why would you even do that? You know, was he trying to be a martyr? Was he trying to go out and say, hey, shoot me now, so that this whole thing just turns into an even bigger fiasco? Let me continue. According to the St. Louis police chief, the suspect was involved in an incident earlier that day at a convenience store, where he was accused of walking out with 2 energy drinks and a package of pastries without paying. So again, it's like Mike Brown all over again. Except that this guy actually had a knife, and he told the cops to shoot him. Anyway, the chief was questioned about the security of officers, blah, blah, blah. Quote, if you're the family of a police officer and somebody approaches you within 3 feet with a knife, I think you have the right to defend yourself and protect yourself. So I think it certainly is reasonable that an officer has an expectation to go home at the end of the night, end quote, he said. So, this is incredible. I am flabbergasted. I don't even know what to say anymore. Wow, this went from Mike Brown to the police state again. So when I'm speechless right now. I don't know what to say. Obviously, if you're at a protest and an officer, threatens to shoot you, which they've done, then you just need to just get out of there. Just don't run necessarily, but try to tell them that you're going to try to walk away and get the hell out of Dodge. Now, there was an article that I read from a CNN reporter who was in Ferguson that it was actually the description of this incident. I can't find it right now, but the description that he does of what is happening was pretty terrifying. I mean, as media, we have the first, I say we, I'm not part of the media, but the media, there's a First Amendment right for the freedom of press and the freedom of speech. And the police have targeted members of the media. They have thrown tear gas at the media. They have completely thrown the Constitution to the winds. And I think that is just going to get so many more people up in arms against the police. And this whole thing is just going to turn bloody. I mean, this is going to be a bloodbath if we can't figure out some way for both sides to back down. So my plea to you, if you are a cop watching this, if you've gotten this far, stand up for yourself. Don't encourage violence, because violence is not the answer. If there is any way for the police to back down, I know that it's against human nature. We are a prideful species, and especially people who, enforce the law or anybody that is in that kind of position, whether it's the police or the military or what have you. You know, we'll say quote unquote macho men. I know it's against your nature. I know it. But to me and to a lot of people, the bigger man walks away. And I know that it sounds counterintuitive to walk away from a whole bunch of people that are literally chanting "kill the cops." Now, let's real quick flip to that side. If you're out in the streets chanting "kill the cops" and "down with the police" and you're literally calling for blood, you're not doing yourself any favors. Stop the violence. There is a peaceful solution. I'm not saying that there's always going to be a peaceful solution, but really, if both sides can just back down and give the other side the opportunity to recover from what is happening, then I think that everything will start to not necessarily mend, but it will improve. You know, if one night, one black officer walked with the protesters in Ferguson and everything stopped. All it took was one cop to walk around and share, ask other people to share their stories with him to stop what's going on. That news spread like wildfire. Now, I know that he has made some faux pas in him and the mayor or the governor have made some mistakes in their press conferences. I didn't get a chance to watch them or read them. I just know that whatever it was that they said pissed a lot of people off, and everything just started all over again. So we had it. We had it for a day. Not even a day. We had it for a night. And we need that again. So my throat is getting a little sore from all this talking. I haven't talked this long a period of time in quite a while. So, yeah. Again, I don't know what else to say. I know that if anything is going to happen, it's going to take somebody backing down, and I don't know who it's going to be. But if somebody doesn't back down, this is going to end in bloodshed. Mark my words. It has already started in St. Louis. So, just be smart. Don't taunt the cops. Cops, don't threaten to shoot people just because they're trying to get out of your fucking way. Both sides need to take their finger off the goddamn trigger, put the gun down, and try to just, for lack of a better phrase, walk away. And I know that it's hard to walk away, but nothing less than both sides just throwing their hands in the air and saying enough. Nothing short of that is going to stop what is going on. The violence will never cease. It will only increase. Unless we just say enough. And I hope that somebody can say enough. And then the other side will see, you know what? This is enough. So that's the end of my little rant. I don't think that I have been as objective, I guess, as I would have hoped in this video, but I hope that I have shown some of you that there is always more than one side to a story. And in the media, really all they care about is being the first one to report a story. They don't care how they say it, they just want to be the first ones to report it. And again, there was misinformation when this was first reported. And it took several days for the information to come out. So please just be patient. There's only, this can only go so quickly. The investigation can only go so quickly. And if we have patience and we just kind of take it easy and let the other side do their job, then everything will hopefully get better. I'm going to finish with a quote at the end of the article on the second autopsy. I believe this is Dr. Baden talking. I'm not sure. There's a quote from him before this, so it might still be him or it might just be the end of the article. But in the days and weeks ahead, we are likely to receive more information from the Ferguson Police Department and Officer Darren Wilson himself. The media should refrain from speculation about the tragic shooting and reserve judgment until all the facts are known in this case. And I could not agree more with that. So that's it for me. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go drink some water. I hope that this has been an informative video. Feel free to comment on it, like, subscribe, whatever. If you have an opinion, if there's something that I didn't cover, if there's an article that you read that gives a counterpoint to anything that I've said, please feel free to message me or leave a link or something in the comments so that I can take a look at it. I welcome open input. That's half the point of this entire thing. So with that, I pray that this situation will close and will deflate soon. And until next time, guys, take care.